Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Motley Fool Conversations. I'm Motley Fool analyst Rachel Warren, and today I'm excited to welcome Julie Smolyansky, CEO of Lifeway Foods, to the show. The Lifeway story began in 1986 when Julie's father, founder Michael Smolyansky, started making kefir in the basement of his Skokie, Illinois home. 2 years later, he took the company public, and it debuted on the NASDAQ exchange. Lifeway Foods has since grown into the largest manufacturer of kefir in the U.S., bringing the delicious taste and probiotic health benefits of kefir to a whole new generation. After the sudden loss of her father and Lifeway founder in 2002, Julie became the youngest female CEO of a publicly traded company when she took over the business at the age of 27. Since then, she's propelled the company forward into innovative product development and marketing, bringing kefir into the U.S. mainstream, and also growing the company from 6 million to almost 210 million in 2025, as well as expanding distribution to Mexico, Ireland, France, South Africa, the UAE, various regions of Central and South America, and the Caribbean. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Rachel. We're big fans over of Motley Fool, and it was one of the first pieces of recognition we received shortly after my father had passed, and we started seeing great success. And I remember one of your contributors, Rich Smith, I believe, wrote a great article about us, kind of introducing us to the world, and it really was a game changer and propelled us into a new stratosphere. So we're really honored to be here with you.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure. Excited to talk with you about the business today. I kind of want to start off our conversation talking a bit more about the history of Lifeway, how the company came to be through the innovation and determination of your father, as well as your journey leading the company since his passing more than 2 decades ago.
Yeah, well, that's a great place to jump off of. You started the interview with a little history of Lifeway, and while Lifeway was founded in 1986, our story begins centuries before that. My family is from the former Soviet Union, and we immigrated to the United States, to Chicago, in 1976 when I was just a 1-year-old. Through a small slit in the Iron Curtain. I was actually born in Kiev, where my parents are from, and which is now Ukraine, not Soviet Union, obviously. And this product, kefir, was unknown in the United States or around the world, frankly. And it's a 2,000-year-old superfood, super healing beverage that was passed down generation to generation by my ancestors, my babushkas, my grandmothers. And it was considered to be a gift from the gods. There was a lot of storytelling around it. The people who consumed it in the Caucasus Mountains, in the regions around Russia and Ukraine, those people lived past 100 years of age, and they attributed their longevity to their consumption of kefir. They felt better when they consumed it. They experienced a well-being. They felt the process. It's a probiotic superfood. They felt those reactions of the composition of the way that the microbes work in the milk, and all of the benefits that it offers. They really felt those benefits, and long before science ever validated what they intuitively in their gut felt was that kefir or kefir really contributed to the health of an individual. In 1908, Dr. Elie Metchnikoff, he's considered the father of immunity, he did the first rounds of scientific studies around fermented milks, kefir, and longevity in general. And he won a Nobel Prize for this work in 1908. And he really found that kefir really aided into the overall well-being of a person's body. And since that time in 1908, the science has only validated more of what he has said. And today science is all over the world. There are scientific studies happening around kefir and gut health and the benefit of kefir on one's body. And it's fascinating. It's absolutely incredible to see these ancient superfoods that our grandmothers consumed and passed down and by word of mouth kept alive, and it survived for 2,000 years. And it was largely hidden from the world. It was a secret. And to know now how special this product is, how much better you feel when you're consuming it, and to see the science validating. We're learning about gut health and the brain, gut health and skin health. And I'm sure we'll get more into all of that. But yeah, from a history perspective, this product is not something that's new. It's something that's ancient, that's only being rediscovered again today. And after we immigrated to America, my dad really, he was an entrepreneur at heart. That was one of the reasons he longed for freedom and, entrepreneurial dreams, the American dream. And he found in that Lifeway Foods. He found a gap in the marketplace, shocked that it did not exist in the largest marketplace in the world, couldn't believe it, and said, wow, I can bring something that I know that's my grandmother's, my family's recipe, and bring it to America and teach Americans about kefir. And in the 80s, even yogurt was still unknown. I mean, yogurt was a small little dusty part of the corner of the grocery store, maybe 4 SKUs of yogurt that was used as a diet food on, Weight Watchers. And that was about it. So to see where fermented dairy has gone, where kefir has gone, and our role in bringing this unknown superfood, this probiotic, to the marketplace, teaching Americans what probiotics are, all of these things that we've really led this conversation from zero to where we are today. It's fascinating and it's amazing, and I'm so proud. Lifeway is really the epitome of the American dream and really a symbol of the American dream, and it's very inspirational to anybody.
I love that, and it's really a wonderful story you share. And talking about where the company is today, I mean, you look back, Lifeway has posted 25 consecutive quarters of growth, but the last year has seen, I think, nothing short of a massive acceleration. So I'd love it if you could talk through a bit for me. What do you think has fundamentally changed in the consumer's relationship with your brand to trigger this specific breakout moment and growth story that we're seeing?
Yeah, thank you. Well, that's a great question. We were on this trajectory for all these decades, really. Every single year after year, Lifeway always achieved growth, record historic growth. And we had done this conservatively, organically, very controlled growth from the beginning, from when my father started the company to 2002 when I stepped into the role as CEO, and we have been growing consistently. And I mean, the earnings will vary, different reasons, and it's hard to go into all of it in over a 40-year history of the company. But whether we were building or expanding or investing in marketing or investing in customers or in our team, we've consistently been growing and building out that demand and teaching Americans about kefir. I mean, if we were launching today, we would not be able to be where we are today without all of this history and organic growth, because people didn't know what kefir was. When we would go to, different events and try to do, samples and passing out our products to customers, they didn't know what it was. They were afraid to touch it. They were afraid to drink it. They thought it was, Pepto-Bismol, and it was an education process. And slow and steady, I think just Americans and in general, global population's relationship with food and seeing food as medicine, and seeing that what we eat really directly impacts our health, our lifestyle, our overall wellness. through the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of playing around with food and doing things to it to take out fat or take out sugar or take out this or that from our food. And it was loaded with all sorts of chemicals and all sorts of other things that we don't really want now, and we've learned more about it. And so I think our relationship with food has changed. What manufacturers are recognizing as kind of better for you foods, what that looks like. But our product has been consistently the 2,000-year-old grandma's recipe that my grandmothers have passed down. And, today, so I think there was one little blip when there was an anti-dairy movement and a plant-based movement, and everyone switched from dairy, switched from milk, went to, coconut, soy, all of the alternatives that are out there. And we always believed that the pendulum would swing. Kefir in its best form is in a dairy base. That's just a known fact. If you want to get the benefits of kefir, the best way to do it is in a dairy source. And these are the kinds of messages that we try to educate our community with and around. So, while we did struggle a little bit and face some of those market challenges when that anti-dairy movement happened, and we had a major slowdown in demand, consumption, all of it, and that was a little bit of a struggle for us. But we knew that with patience it would come back, because dairy is still the most original, authentic form of nutrition, the bioavailable protein. We talk a lot about protein today. There is a big demand for protein. As more and more folks go on GLP-1s, the need for protein, it increases as we learn about those important nutrients. And one important thing is that not all protein is the same, that bioavailable real protein is something that consumers are also really looking for. And that has contributed to the return to dairy, that people realize all of those factors that, the alt dairy milks, the coconuts, oats, soys, whatever, have all these other whether it's not great for the environment and it requires a lot of other energy sources, water, etc., or the ingredients themselves are not so great. So as people are learning about that, they are returning back to what works, back to the original, back to what they know. And that's not only dairy, but specifically Lifeway. And so we're really happy to see that, we kind of jumped back into where we were growing right before that anti-dairy movement happened. COVID helped, people came back to what they know. And they got really comfortable in the kitchen and going to the grocery store to seek out interesting new ingredients. I think people's minds in general are more open to trying new flavors, especially these younger generations. They are very experimental with their palate and what they're interested in trying. Obviously very focused around social media and TikTok, viral, recipes and whatnot. And I just think all of these little different factors have contributed to our great growth and success that we're seeing today. But it was multi-layered, a lot of things happening at the same time. We're in charge of our own manufacturing. We are the manufacturers. That's not very common in the food industry. A lot of brands rely on outside packagers, a second private label packaging and whatnot, co-packing. That's not our case. We are in control of our own destiny. And, that gives us also, I think, an edge to the marketplace, or, prevents other folks from coming in. We're really in control of the manufacturing and our own destiny. So lots of fun things that help make Lifeway the success story that it is today, but all very controlled and organic growth. We didn't push the marketplace before it was ready. I think that's one thing that my dad taught me. Yes, you can push your way into a store shelf and get on the shelf, but it doesn't mean that the community is ready to be, buying it. And, there's a danger with returns if you push too hard and the market isn't ready. And we've always been very conscious of that to make sure that when we expand into a new zip code, a new grocery store, a new marketplace, that, we're doing the backup marketing education of the community, as well, so, and making sure that we're getting those repeat purchases, which is another very hard thing to do in CPG. People will buy your product once, but if they buy it 5 times, then you have a lifetime consumer. you know
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit more about kind of the development of the space that Lifeway operates in. I mean, as you've noted, you spent decades educating the market on kefir. And, now that I think gut health has become more of a mainstream trend, I'm curious how you kind of define Lifeway's role. Is it more of a dairy company or a functional food platform? And what is maybe the strategy for moving into the broader functional food space?
Yeah, I mean, I think calling us a dairy company is a little too narrow. Of course, we are a dairy company. We focus on dairy. We're big believers on dairy as a nutrient, and we're really excited to see it being prioritized on the new food pyramid that the government just released, really prioritizing dairy and protein, and specifically calling out kefir and fermented foods. I would say that Lifeway is more of a lifestyle platform company. We are not just selling a commodity or just dairy. We are a brand. Lifeway stands for something. We are a symbol, as I mentioned, of the American dream. We're a symbol of resilience, and I think, today's consumers, when they're buying a brand, they're buying a lifestyle. They're coding what's important to them. They're sharing what they're purchasing. They're sharing their grocery hauls. They're sharing their food recipes, their various life hacks, biohacks, and they want to use a brand as a symbol to what is important to them. And so whether that's, our millennial consumers or Gen Z or baby boomers, across the gamut, Lifeway is a brand that crosses generations, and has continued to find ways to be relevant, not just be relevant, but set the trends. So for example, this weekend, we're activating at Coachella in Los Angeles. I think it's like such an example of culture and the center of all things cool and trending. And, we have our own hype house where we're going to be featuring all sorts of recipes and things using our products, all inspired by various performers. So really like a fun way to present a 2,000-year-old grandma's product, is now going to be a purple haze smoothie inspired by Jimi Hendrix, or it's me espresso soda, dirty soda mocktail, inspired by Sabrina Carpenter's song. So finding cool ways to speak to this new generation of young people, and teaching them about a 2,000-year-old product from another world, another country. So, I think that's a really cool way that we're positioning ourselves. And we'll have Debbie Gibson, an icon, a legend, performing as a special guest, and a cool DJ Autograph, our friends from Chicago, DJing. And, it's finding a way to bring this dairy product, which is not the sexiest category, I would say, but making it really sexy. And that's just one example. We do things at, South by Southwest and Austin City Limits, at New York Fashion Week, at Lollapalooza, at NASCAR, showing up to different communities in unexpected and delightful ways that make it relevant for them. And, we are I think a brand that's cradle to grave. We, service and make sure that we're reaching out to kids and new families through our Pro Bugs, our pouch product for kids, or, middle age or elderly people. So we really run the gamut across all demographics, and we're there for all of our community. So, we still have our ethnic original OGs, the Slavic delis in Brighton Beach and Miami and Surf Sunny Isles and down at Los Angeles and Fairfax and Santa Monica. Those are kind of original Slavic Euro delis that are big, massive consumers of ours. But we also reach, our natural food and organic marketplace through Erewhon, Whole Foods, Sprouts. We hit mass market with our grocery stores, Safeway, Albertsons, Kroger's, Publix. And then we hit mass market with, in club stores, be it Walmart, Target, and Costco, some of these other markets. So we are really all across the board in every category. In every type of channel. And now what's new for us is we're focusing on, or not focusing, but adding to our focus away from home hospitality, airplanes, like we're on the Air France flights from the US to France, or college cafeterias where young people are really looking to eat better on campus. Different types of hotels and travel and tourism opportunities, especially with these like little bottles. We have these like little mini 8 kefir bottles. So
love that.
We're really known for our large 32 ounce, which is perfect in grocery store. But if you're on the go, this is a little challenging. So we're really seeing a huge demand for our little bottles in these new channels. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Something that leads me into my next question. You've managed to launch several very successful, sub brands. You've got, kefir butter and farmer cheese, and the list goes on. And you've done so with a relatively lean team. And I'm just curious, kind of what the secret is to maintaining that very high innovation success rate, without the massive R&D budgets of a company like Danone or Nestle. And maybe, you touched on this earlier as well about your vertical integration strategy. Is that the thing about Lifeway that these bigger brands simply can't replicate with a bigger budget? Or is there something else that's sort of the secret sauce of how the business works?
Gosh, there's so many secret sauces. I think that's one of the benefits of being a smaller company is that we are very nimble. We can respond to trends like within hours. And I think because we have a smaller team that there's just less bureaucracy of things going through the, pipeline. I am myself very creative, and kefir and Lifeway's in my blood. I was 11 years old when my dad founded the company. I was the very, very first taster of the very first sip of Lifeway kefir. And I grew up in the food industry. I grew up, my mother opened up the first Eastern European delicatessen 2 years after we settled. So I grew up in a grocery store, in a small deli, I guess. I understood about, my customer and customer service and building community and, hard work and whatnot. And so all to say that this is very much like part of my DNA, the food industry in general, and health and wellness is also something that I grew up with. I was an athlete as a teenager, and still today I just ran my 14th marathon. So all of this, I really walk the talk, and it's something that's very important to me. So a lot of times when I'm innovating for things I am personally looking for, I'm in need for. So Muscle Mates, for example, was a new innovation that combines creatine with Lifeway kefir. So you get the protein and the creatine. Same thing with our collagen, a new collagen kefir. We noticed our customers were making their own collagen smoothies with collagen powder, making smoothies with our kefir. I love doing that, and I do that, but I'm always looking for a hack. How can I save myself a dishwash? How do I not have to take my blender out? What can I do to make my routine just a little bit faster, easier, etc.? So that's some of these innovations just come from other things that we see trending that I myself am watching on social media. And I think one of my skills is that I can see patterns and see trends before they really become real trends. or just filling a need for myself. I mean, the reason my dad launched Lifeway was that he needed kefir for his own health. He had IBS and Crohn's. He noticed that without his daily consumption of kefir that he got in the Soviet Union and here in America, and just the different foods, the way the over-processed, ultra-processed foods in America, he was having all of the symptoms flare up. So he launched Lifeway out of, again, a need that he himself had. And so same thing with some of these products is that, I am seeing my customers, my community make these smoothies, etc., on their own, at home, and I'm thinking let's make it easier, let's innovate and bring something new to the category. So that's a lot of how things are innovated at Lifeway. A lot of it just originates from me. Hey, let's try this flavor, this is trending, whether it be new flavors, matcha. You can't get away from matchas today. My own kids, they drink like 6 of them a day. So, how can let's make a matcha latte flavor of kefir. And we're always looking to bring other trends and things happening in the marketplace back to Lifeway. How can we work and play and be part of that conversation? Butter, you mentioned kefir butter. As kefir grows, as the word becomes known, at the same time, we're seeing a return to real butter, real food. Again, back to the U.S., the new U.S. food pyramid. Gone are the days of the 80s where we are afraid of fat-free this, fat-free that. Butter was replaced with margarine and all sorts of other alternative butters, which we found were not the healthiest options, and that real butter is actually the best for you. And so one of my favorite recipes to make with our product, with kefir, is a kefir butter. As a matter of fact, I wrote a book, a kefir cookbook, the kefir cookbook, V1, and the first 5 recipes are the kefir butters, and it's just one of my favorite recipes. Really a delicious, clean product, so just gourmet, elite, and so that's how some of the innovation happens. And I think because we are small, we're big enough where we're not a startup, where we have a team to innovate quickly and the capability to do it. And we're not that big that it takes us 5 years to get something to marketplace. Today's consumer is really fast. I mean, trends come and go real fast. And not every innovation is going to be a lasting innovation. Some innovations are just meant to be there for a couple of years while something is on trend. And some things go away, but we're always there in that conversation, bringing something interesting to the market space. Part of it is shelf blocking, making sure that Lifeway has the shelf space to always be there for our core product, for our originals, the 80-20 rule. And I think innovation also serves a purpose for a PR and marketing. Not everything is going to be a long-lasting product, a forever product, but it does help us continue to show that we are relevant, we're cool, we're we're innovating, we're bringing something new that doesn't exist to the space, and making history always.
I'm curious, you mentioned this earlier, but how have some of the dietary trends, like the focus on GLP-1 medications or, otherwise, how has that changed, if at all, how you market products?
Yeah, I mean, the GLP-1 situation is fascinating because it really, for us, it's a really big benefit. It really prioritizes protein and dairy for people. We're learning that those who people who are on GLP-1s are experiencing a muscle loss and bone loss. And so how can we help them still reach their goals, but make sure that they continue to be healthy and not deplete their body of really important nutrients? Because that's not helpful if you're, osteoporotic and,
right.
looking thin, but, are breaking your bones. So how can we help our consumers? So, specifically with GLP-1s, that helps. Smaller sizes, we want to make sure that, we're giving people these like small little 3-ounce sizes so
Mm.
that they're still buying Lifeway, they're still getting their nutrients and probiotics, but they have smaller options. And they have something that's a little bit more attainable for them to consume. So that's important. The prioritization in the food pyramid guide is another great example. It's something that we have lobbied for decades. When we looked at the food pyramid, it was very, very limiting and not really proper. I would say, the
Mm.
focus of carbs as the biggest piece was wrong. We know that to stay satiated, we need more protein. So we're really excited to see that change has been made, and it will be a trickle down effect, I think, for decades, to see this new shift in how we think about food, and making sure that protein and getting it from a dairy is the best. It's again, bioavailable, not a synthetic lab created protein. A lot of these protein things that you're seeing, it's not even protein that your body can do anything with. So I
Mm.
think as consumers get more curious about their protein, their sources, that'll also help specifically Lifeway. But yeah, I mean, there's always kind of food trends, diet trends that happen. But I think what's exciting is that we are a brand that is rooted in a 2,000-year-old history with a product that's not going away. This isn't a fad. This isn't a trend. Probiotics and the microbiome and friendly bacteria are just being studied. We're just starting to crack the code and understand how important our gut bacteria is and how it impacts all health and all different functions. So, whether it's immunity or digestion, now we know there's a mental health component, that the gut controls your mood, can reduce stress, depression, and anxiety, or skin health, that people are looking for better skin and beauty through their foods. And this, just again, this idea of food as medicine, that, we can control a lot of the diseases that we have. A lot of these diseases are lifestyle diseases. And the fact that we can be empowered to bring ourselves and our families better health through the food we eat at the grocery store is very powerful. So I think all of that helps us, and I think we're really a brand that meets the moment. We're there for our consumer, communicating with them in a way that is accessible. We have built a strong community on social media through Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, or X, whichever these different platforms. We were one of the first companies on social media, and I think that was because I was a younger leader. As you mentioned, I was 27 when I took over. My peer group was starting to build community on social media. So even
Mm.
MySpace, we had a MySpace page. That's how early we were, and it gave us an authentic voice to be able to share these scientific, nutritional, some of these dry messaging, but in a cool way, in a layperson way. And I think that's things that have contributed to our success.
I want to talk a bit more about kind of the financial aspect of the business. You have a very strong balance sheet at Lifeway, no significant long-term debt. So I'm kind of wondering how you're prioritizing the use of cash. Is it on the production end? Is it, looking for acquisition targets? Maybe you can walk me through that mindset a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of our balance sheet. We have a pristine balance sheet. And I think that's probably my father's like immigrant mentality still like on me, like very part of my consciousness. My dad hated debt. He hated, owing anybody money. And he always felt it was important to be in control of your own destiny. And, cash is king, and that the person with the cash will be the winner. And I would say that was very true. And in times of economic strife, whether that was like the 2008 meltdown or COVID or labor shortages or today, whatever that is, our balance sheet has been something that has really contributed to our success. And we were able to use an economic meltdown to our advantage. For example, we were able to hire talent that wouldn't normally work at Lifeway back when we were a much smaller company, because we had the resources to do it. And, it just gave us a leg up in many cases. And today, I would say we are prioritizing our cash on building out capacity as we scale. The scale is significantly bigger. We're now operating, more than 250 million in revenue, or, thinking about the next leap up, doubling the business to 500 million. What does the capacity look like? Making sure that we have tanks and equipment, and optimizing all of it for the best profits are all kind of things that we think about and are prioritizing. Also, we prioritize marketing and advertising. That's going to be the success for Lifeway, is growing awareness of our product. There's still a lot of people that don't know what kefir is. Maybe they've heard of it, they haven't tried it yet. Making sure that we're out there at events to trial and sample, because once you try Lifeway, you fall in love with it. It is so delicious. And so making sure that we get people trying the product and falling in love with it is another big priority. So, doing that at scale with massive amounts of eyeball, those are priorities. But I would say the biggest priority right now is our building out more capacity, which we've talked quite a bit about. Farmer cheese is a product that was the number 1 and 2 product. It's like tvorog in Russian. It's like a soft unripened cottage cheese, and with the growth and success of cottage cheese, it was finally time to scale this product. We're the largest manufacturer of farmer's cheese right now, but it was mostly sold only in the ethnic stores for the last 40 years. But when I saw the success of cottage cheese kind of going viral on social media, I immediately told the team, let's start building out more capacity for farmer's cheese, and let's put this into mass market. So now we have farmer cheese nationwide at Walmart, nationwide at Albertsons, and the list of stores is growing tremendously. And it's a really high quality, high protein product. It is so delicious. Bethany Frankel loves it. And we have lots of influencers who just rave about it. Now it's like they've discovered something totally new. But for us, it's been a 40-year-old product. And again, it's something that my grandmothers used to make for the last 2,000 years. So yeah,
it's fantastic. Another piece I want to talk about is, Lifeway set a pretty aggressive target of achieving between 45 and 50 million in adjusted EBITDA by 2027. So I'm curious if you can talk a bit more about some of the drivers or margin expansions that you think are going to enable the company to achieve that bottom line jump.
Yeah. Well, first of all, prices are surprisingly very much under control for us. Our raw materials, milk prices continue to be very good for us. One of the biggest costs for us is milk, and one of the challenges has been when milk skyrockets and goes through the roof. And luckily, milk prices have been very stable and lower than historic times, so that helps us. Our ingredients are all sourced locally, as close to the manufacturing facility as well. And, we are not as impacted, if not impacted at all, by tariffs and issues around, shipping products across the ocean and gas and whatnot. So all of these things really work for us, to our benefit. And I would say the biggest driver is the efficiencies that we're building into the manufacturing process. Our expansion projects have been moving along on target. We're in phase 2 of a new expansion product in our largest facility in Wisconsin. We plan to be done with it by 2027. But these efficiencies that we're building out and new capacity, it's using the most state-of-the-art innovation, the most cutting-edge new facilities, automation. Those kinds of things have been really helping us drive the EBITDA. And at the same time, while all that's happening, our sales are going through the roof. We are almost on a 40% growth rate right now, which we just announced, giving some preliminary numbers for first quarter. And yeah, I mean, I think we've told our story in a really interesting way that resonates with so many consumers, and consumers want to be a part of that. They want to support a brand like Lifeway and be part of our story, and it's really cool to see. And so just a lot of micro trends happening all at the same time that are really contributing to our growth, while we're also investing in automated opportunity efficiencies and other capacity things within our operations.
How big of a growth driver or investment focus is the international expansion? You know, I mentioned it at sort of the beginning of our conversation today, some of the markets that Lifeway's expanded into, but I'd love if you could chat about that a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, my vision for Lifeway is to make Lifeway to kefir what Tropicana is to orange juice, Hershey's is to chocolate. We are the category killer. We dominate this category in the largest marketplace in the world. I firmly believe that it is our obligation to take our category and build it internationally, globally, especially in today's world where marketing is not as challenging as it used to be. Because of social media, there are no borders. Our marketing is not just in one zip code, you know, like back in the 80s. With a single social media post, we can go viral globally. So, you know, I really feel like this is the time to expand that idea and expand Lifeway. We are the number one brand in Mexico. We see an amazing opportunity in Mexico. We've already spent about a decade building that out, and we have an amazing partner there. We are the number one brand in Mexico, and it's growing exponentially. Same thing for other countries that I've mentioned, you know, Dubai, UAE, Dubai, although there is unrest there, it's largely actually stable. And that community and marketplace, because of the demographics, because of some of the other things happening, war in the Russia and Ukraine, a lot of migration happening, and people who already know our product really well and are very big consumers of it, they are seeking it out in these different kinds of countries, whether it be Europe or Middle East or even in Mexico, like I said. So it's really cool to see the global reaction to Lifeway. You know, not every country is as successful, and that's largely because bandwidth for even my own team at Lifeway. So, you know, we try to be very calculated in our expansion, but yeah, I mean, it's an important part of our business, and I think Lifeway should be every single city, in every single city where people live. I think, you know, if everyone in the world drank Lifeway kefir, we would have significantly better health and much less health conditions, and people would live a better quality of life. And that's just, you know, watching the science and knowing what our product can do for people. We do believe we're really contributing to like a better world, and this is our way of showing up in that world. But yeah, international is exciting, and it's great that we have tools like TikTok or Instagram to be able to share our message with anybody who has a phone.
You know, one final question as we sort of get to the end of our time together today. You know, for retail investors that are listening and maybe considering Lifeway, I'd love if you could talk about where you see Lifeway in 10 years from now. You know, is it a $1 billion revenue company, or what are the steps that need to happen to get there?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're growing. We're, you know, let's say just round number, let's say we're 250 million in revenue. You know, the growth rate is so big right now, and there is so much demand. And whether, you know, we're not just a one product. I think a lot of people just thought, oh, we're the kefir company. We're much more than just kefir. Again, we have like farmer's cheese, and then, you know, the different functional, different kinds of innovations within kefir. And there's a couple of other things that we're working on. So, you know, we're not just a one SKU, one product company. I would say that there's going to be a lot more innovation from Lifeway and a lot more growth, and there's still a lot of untapped opportunities in the marketplace. So, I can't tell you where we'll be in 10 years, but I do see, very strong double-digit growth in the coming years for quite some time.
Awesome. Well, it was wonderful to chat with you today, Julie, and hear more about Lifeway and how the business is developing and how that story has come across the decades and tracing back to the 2,000-year-old roots of kefir and also your family's story. So thank you so much for joining me today on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Rachel. I love your guts.
That's great.